MIDA provides an amazing solution at a much more attainable build-out than what that shows. And I'd just like to know some more details behind where those numbers come from.
Well, likewise, we have to know what Lewis, Robertson, Young's assumptions were as well. I can't speak to the differences without knowing how they've arrived at their calculations either. So it goes both ways. I have to see their assumptions and their economic assumptions.
Our development's $182 million. And they work directly with MIDA on exactly what the tax increment uses are for. So it should be the exact same application, with the only difference being 70% goes to the county development as opposed to 80% on the Blue Lake side.
Again, I have to compare side by side. It's the time to sit side by side.
I would love, and I know on the council you're the one with the most background in that, you know, I think that would be a nice disconnect to understand, frankly, because I hope it makes it much less daunting for the county as well.
Part of that I think stems from the fact that I think we're trying to be conservative. We don't want to pie in the sky. And we're far better off to undershoot this than to overshoot. And to plan for all this infrastructure and then have it be able to come to fruition. We're much better off to be very conservative on how we approach this. That's maybe part of it. But again, I'd have to look at the detail item by item, look at their assumptions, look at our assumptions, and see where we might be different.
And you're right, the assumptions should be exactly the same, with only the difference being the 70% as opposed to the 80%. The real difference would be, how is that 70% used?
Well, also on their absorptions, there's other assumptions there, but notwithstanding, we just have to look at them side by side.
I'll leave that with you, and I would love to see
Okay. Thanks,
a comparison to that. And I appreciate the clarification on the control area and the...
Well, I think we've always made that clear, that the MIDA was in control of the MIDA control area, and then there was the county control area within MIDA. And it gets a little bit confusing because there's MIDA control area within the MIDA project area, and then there's the county control area within the MIDA project area. So the language gets a little confusing, but I think we've always been clear that MIDA's in control, both from a land use point and also the tax rebate standpoint. That the MIDA board, as an entity, is in control of that. I think we've always made that clear. I think that was clear in the last meeting we had downstairs.
And my last question that I would like, in our previous meeting on January 8th, one of the topics that came up that is important to have clarified is the statement by the council that we want to have a meeting by the end of January, so that if we don't get resolution on exactly what's happening with MIDA, we are considering going to the legislature to unwind the MIDA process. And
what do you need clarified?
Is that accurate, or is that something that's been resolved?
I don't think it's been resolved, but I think it's a question that's on the council's mind, in my particular. This is a 50-year, Mike says it's a 25-year commitment, but it's 25 years from the first one. It could be a 50-year commitment for tax dollars. So, yeah, that's concerning to me.
I guess then the question from there is, what about the process from the original resolution that was passed with MIDA to the creation of, and I hate to be selfish, but I'll say creation of the Phase 1 project area, changed? And
the reason for entering into the agreements with MIDA, from my viewpoint, was to jumpstart the development in the basin. This was 3 years ago, I think, when this started. And I haven't seen anything happen. We are in the process now of getting something done. But as I went out and visited with other landowners, the potential landlords in the basin who have told me, you know, we're maybe going to develop with all the town. So I have to consider that as far as this process going, and the taxing, as Mike has discussed, it's a lot of money. You know, you view your money at, did you say $182 million project would generate $28 million over how much time?
34 million
34 million?
in,
And see, and I just look at, I'm not a simple guy, but I look at a $182 million project generating $34 million. I have to say, over what period of time? Because that's a pretty handsome return.
over 25 years.
Over 25 years. And so if you take $182 million at the present value, but then you do it at the value of build out, what's the difference? And that's what I have to look at is looking out for the citizens of Wasatch County.
And I guess what the real question that comes down to is, from my standpoint, we acquired the property. I had a great meeting with Mike. He referred me to Stan Castleton, who is the winner of the RFP, and they invited me to include the property in the project area, explained the benefits of the tax increment. I completely understood that and quickly said, please add me to that list. And then we have, since that resolution was signed, we've run as fast as we could, moving forward with our project, spending our dollars based on that resolution and that commitment that was made by Wasatch County with MIDA. And then further, there was a second stage of that, which was an agreement in this room with the full council, Mr. Castleton, MIDA, the Air Force, where we discussed the fact that, okay, Blue Ledge is moving forward faster than anyone else. We would like to see this continue and not halt their progress. We haven't picked a site for the Air Force Hotel yet. Are we all in agreement that this is a risk that we're willing to assume, creating phase one of the project area, and will we be able to find a site for the Air Force Hotel in the remaining 2,160 acres? And everyone unanimously agreed. So we created the project area and have continued to spend money. We're one of the landowners, even though Mayflower has 1,000 acres and we have 40. We paid the same share as all of the other landowners to pay for that Deer Valley ski study and have that done. Had a great result. And now it's concerning that you feel like the commitments that have been made are something that, because the economy has changed and maybe it's not needed as much, that it's an option to not follow through with that.
I don't know if it's because the economy has changed, but the fact remains we haven't found a site. The site has not been provided for the military hotel.
Oh,
correct?
I agree completely.
Okay, so before we can go forward, that site, as far as the county goes, that site needs to be identified. That's what the military MIDA stands for. It's a military site. We wouldn't even have this discussion. None of these discussions, we weren't anticipating a military site. We haven't established that site to this point.
So, number one,
we assumed we would. We hoped we would.
I haven't given up. I haven't given up on that. All of the land is still available. I have said from the beginning that in the interim we would make a block of rooms available for the Air Force, and that should continue on. But
we've had several people offer that, but those people don't have a contract with the military to do that.
Right.
So we can't even consider that because someone else has that contract.
Yeah, that was just a...
That was a bit of a loss because you already have a development agreement in place. So what I'm trying to understand, what's your concern with the next guy's development agreement? I mean, I don't think that you have a dog in the fight on the next guy's development agreement. you got one and your deal is with MIDA. You're in the MIDA control area. They are your land use planners.
I agree.
They are also the ones you've got a development agreement for the rebates. So you're outside of the county control area. I'm trying to understand what's your dog in the fight.
The statement that was made in the meeting on the 8th.
But yours is with MIDA. Yours is with MIDA, not with us.
Let me clarify. I think there's probably fighting words that we're back. We're missing it out. But if I back to Steve Capson, what I just heard you say, and I didn't understand it until you just said that. If the county chose to go back and say we got MIDA reversed, it still doesn't affect him because he's already past that point. He's dealing with MIDA in his little area. So a reversal of that in the rest of this project area wouldn't affect him. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know, but I would guess that, yeah.
So if you're saying that,
But he's got an agreement already. He's got a development agreement, a signed development agreement.
And I agree with what you're saying, but if what you're saying is what I just said, I don't know that Van has a concern. I think if I'm reading what you're saying, Van, the fact that we reverse MIDA says it reverses MIDA everywhere.
That's always the impression that I had from the discussions from what Jay just said. There's no Air Force hotel. If there isn't an Air Force hotel, we wouldn't do any of it. And also the letter that talks about unwinding the MIDA project. If you're right, that has never been clarified. But the things that I've heard and seen.
I don't remember ever getting a phone call from you, Van, asking me that question. But I've got phone calls where you accused me of doing that from a lot of people. I would have appreciated you calling me and asking me the questions.
Asking you,
is this affecting me?
I felt like I knew the answer.
Well, apparently from what you've told other people, I was affecting your property. That's what I've been told.